Welcome back. So Defence Minister Angie Motshekga has revealed that there have been no more attacks on South African camps in the Eastern DRC for the past 2 days. 13 SANDF soldiers have died over the past week as the M23 rebels advanced on Goma. Motshekga says the Rwandan-backed group has been warned not to target peacekeepers. For more on this, now let's bring in the Defence Deputy Minister Bantu Holomisa. General, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. General, I want to start off with the remarks. General, can you hear me?
Come again.
Okay. I'm saying that I want to start off with the remarks that were made by the Minister of Defence in relation to a phone call that had taken place between the President as well as the President of Rwanda. I'm going to play that clip quickly, and I would like to hear your views on what the response is from Paul Kagame, the President of Rwanda. Just quickly take a listen to what Minister Angie Motshekga had to say yesterday.
There's also discussions which include Rwanda, because it is alleged to be also one of the big perpetrators, and that's why we're keeping communications with them, and they've been friendly. There's been no hostility between us. It's just that at that stage when they were firing above our heads, the president did want them to say, if you're going to fire, we'll take it as a declaration of war, and we'll have to defend our people.
Well, Deputy Minister, following those remarks and the media reports on the remarks of the Minister, Paul Kagame, the President of Rwanda, has responded, saying that President Ramaphosa himself contains a lot of distortion, deliberate attacks and even lies, going as far as saying that President Ramaphosa has never given a warning of any kind unless it was delivered in his local language, which I do not understand. So those remarks were made by the Minister. As the Deputy Minister, do you know of that particular phone call and what was said?
What I can report to you is that our minister went to the DRC, and the incident took place while she was there, and that's why she said yesterday she flew to Goma and visited our troops who were in hospital, and also had meetings with different institutions in that part of the world. And then he came back with the commander of the SANDF, General Mapanya, and they were engaged with the president from Monday up to yesterday. And it is in that period, in particular on Monday or Tuesday, where President Cyril Ramaphosa is reported to have called Kagame directly to talk about the need to have a ceasefire. They agreed, and indeed, the troops of the SANDF were told to go back to their barracks. What we are busy doing now is to make sure that the fallen soldiers and the injured ones must be brought back home as soon as possible. But the situation in the last 2 days has been volatile. As you know, that you can say there's ceasefire, and then the orders arrived late to the frontline troops. But I'm happy so far that it is quiet. So what we are doing now as a government, the Presidency, Foreign Affairs or International Relations and Defense are talking to the United Nations to make sure that they facilitate the transfer of those bodies back to South Africa. That is what we are more invested in at this stage. Whether Kagame and Cyril Ramaphosa misunderstand each other, but at least a call which was made by President Ramaphosa to President Kagame has led to the current stable situation, where in the last 48 hours we have not had any incident.
Yeah, and I want to go back once again to what Paul Kagame is saying, because I'd love to hear and understand what your reading is into this. So he denies the issue around the warning, but right at the end of his statement, he says the following: if South Africa prefers confrontation, Rwanda will deal with the matter in that context any day. What do you read into that? Is it a threat?
It's not a threat, but these are politicians. But what we should be looking at is to invest more on finding a solution in the forthcoming week, this forthcoming weekend, these talks among the leaders of SADC. The fact that Cyril Ramaphosa and Kagame can speak anytime they want, I'm happy with that arrangement. The others where people issue statements just to save face, that's their own endeavor. But for now, let us have a solution to bring the bodies of South African soldiers back home. And then the decision to retain or remain in DRC peacekeeping mission, it should be left entirely to the government and parliament of South Africa.
Yeah, even on that, for instance, calling it a peacekeeping mission, Paul Kagame once again says that it's not a peacekeeping mission, and it contributed to the failure of the negotiation process. So blaming DRC for the instability that is currently in the DRC, in the eastern parts of the DRC.
Well, I hope that the chairperson of the president of Angola, who has been sponsoring the peace talks, would be in a position to confirm that. No South African will confirm that. So let us leave it to the UN as well as Angola to say, why did Kagame pull out of the talks? Because his version is not what we have heard, the reason for him to pull out.
What's the version that you heard?
The version I heard is that on the eve of signing the agreement, Kagame pulled out, citing certain conditions that they are not met. But why did he fly all the way to the destination and then just on the eve of signing? Because you don't, as a leader, you don't just go and sign without having discussed the implications of that agreement. So he literally withdrew, and as a result of that, then this war started again.
Yeah. Do you think that this situation, the public spat, then also the interpretation of the Rwandan government about South Africa's stance and South Africa's involvement makes it difficult to reach that point of finding a lasting solution? I'm not saying about giving up, but just the difficulty around that and also the fear that the violence itself could spread in the region.
I look at the positive side of this engagement with President Kagame. If he can pick up the phone and say to the president, yes, I agree, let there be a ceasefire. And what is needed now is for this forthcoming weekend, that they should come up with a way forward as leaders of SADC. And Kagame, I hope he will be there. And we should find a solution. As long as President Cyril Ramaphosa, when he calls Kagame, he picks up the phone and agree or to reinforce this ceasefire arrangement, I'm happy with that, because that would expedite the return of the fallen soldiers from DRC to South Africa.
Okay. You keep on making reference to trying to repatriate the bodies back to South Africa. Is there an issue of South Africa can't do it itself? It has to rely on the United Nations? Just explain the protocol around that, please.
South Africa is there under the command of SADC. South Africa is there under the command of UN as well. It is for that reason that when this war broke out last week, the United Nations Security Council called for an urgent meeting. And everybody agreed that let us find a solution to this conflict. Therefore, South Africa will always wait for the people who requested them to be deployed in that part of the world in the first instance. And that is AU, SADC, and UN.
Okay. General, in conclusion, while South Africa has made it clear that its mission in the DRC is a defense mission, the Rwandan government has a different take on that. The president even describing the Rwandan Defense Force, this is now our president, as a militia group, which the Rwandan president has hit back again and saying that this is a defense force, is an army. It is not a militia group. Do you think that there is a possibility at all of South Africa declaring war against Rwanda? Is that a possibility?
I don't think so. Our aim of going to Rwanda, to DRC, has not been to fight or get involved into the politics of Congo and those of Rwanda. The decision to send troops there was for them to maintain peace. But what is needed in future, I hope there will be an inquiry of some kind, whether it's a board of inquiry or judicial commission of inquiry, to make sure that the troops of South Africa, the failure was not on the part of us, South Africa. As you know, that there has been a clarion call by all sectors of this country that you cannot compromise the security of South Africa just because you are betting on a wicket of social security. You have to apply a balancing act. These troops, when they go to deployment from now on, even if we talk reinforcement, we must make sure that the safety of those troops is paramount.
Okay.
And the rest of rhetoric, I'm not interested in it.
All right. Tomorrow it is the SADC meeting. What's South Africa's proposal at that SADC meeting? Should we pull out? Should we reinforce?
No, we cannot pull out currently until the Parliament and the President has responded or reported to the nation what is the future of the deployment of South Africa. Pulling out will also have to be ratified by SADC, AU, and UN. We can't just pull out like that and leave the rest of the population we're protecting there vulnerable. Yes, while the situation is still volatile, but we have to be sober when we are talking about this matter and make sure that there is complete cessation of hostilities, especially against the troops of South Africa and other countries which are there to maintain peace.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. The Deputy Minister of the Department of Defense there, Bantu Holomisa, speaking to us about the situation in the DRC and also responds to what Paul Kagame, the president,